Hi, my name is Julie Hope, and I am from Montana Housing here in Helena. I'm your room host for this breakout session. We're excited that you've decided to join us today. Please mute your lines and use the chat function for your questions. And Austin and Lori will be doing some question answering kind of in the middle of it all. So just a few housekeeping items. All sessions are being automatically recorded. Please mute your lines and turn off your video while the presenters are presenting. Please click the chat icon, select all panelists and attendees, and enter your name, organization, and location. You may turn your video back on during our Q&A time. So each of you should have received a whiteboard paddle and marker in the mail. If you find something inspiring, exciting, or new, write a quick adjective on the whiteboard, hold it up, and let us know during the Q&A time at the end of the session. So I guess, Lori, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, well, thank you. Good morning, and thank you for joining our session today on community land trusts. I'm Lori Freeman, and I'm here with Austin Wallis. We both work with Trust Montana, which is a statewide community land trust. Our session will explain how CLTs work, offer some background on the local community land trusts throughout Montana, and we'll update you on some of the great work being done and the goals that we're shooting for. Some of the initial portion of our presentation may be review for some of you, but I want to make sure that everyone understands how community land trusts work. So as a brief introduction, I think it's fair to say that we've moved beyond affordable housing crisis into more of affordable housing catastrophe. We're bombarded every day with stories of people losing their housing through foreclosure, being forced to move because of rising rents, and generally just struggling to find decent affordable housing. I just read a lengthy article on the front page of the Missoulian today that had to do with people appearing at the city council meeting and very upset about the lack of affordable rentals in Montana and the continuing rising prices. When we're talking about affordable, we typically mean housing that's no more than 30% of gross household income. So as a simple example, if someone is earning $15 an hour, that's a little over $30,000 a year, $10,000 a year for housing costs, which equates to about $850 a month for housing costs would be considered affordable. I don't know about the communities that you might be in, but I know in Missoula, it's difficult to find a rental, let alone purchase a house with total housing costs of $850 or less per month. So there's many factors that play into this catastrophe, but we might start with the incredibly rapid rise of home prices and the limited supply on the market. The competition to buy homes is crazy right now. Many people with solid jobs and regular incomes who would normally be in the market to purchase a starter home just absolutely cannot compete in the current market. So this in turn puts that much added pressure on rentals. And there's very few vacancies right now, and rents are rising by as much as $400 a month. And finally, like I mentioned, even at $15 a month, nearly double the minimum wage for the state of Montana, people just can't find decent, affordable housing. There's no place where this problem is more obvious than Big Sky, Montana. And you might roll your eyes a little bit, but I think many of our communities are headed in a similar direction right now.
Rana, more of those electric eels. If they hit you while you're out there, you're done.
Not drinking this water without boiling.
Maybe we should mute ourselves if possible. Anyway, the median home price in Big Sky, Montana right now is $2.5 million. And the median price for a condominium is upwards of $1 million. So where do the people who serve that community live? Of course, we expect to have the school and the hospital and the grocers and all of the retail businesses in Big Sky, but the people who work in those fields can't afford a home in the community they work. So maybe Bozeman, you say. There are thousands of people commuting down to Big Sky from the Bozeman area every day. But even that's not the answer. The median home price in Bozeman is over $700,000 right now. So we're just putting more pressure on those bedroom communities like Belgrade, for example. We might look south towards West Yellowstone, but their housing is being converted into the much more lucrative vacation rentals for people who want to visit Yellowstone National Park. So there's no quick and easy fix, obviously, to the very complex problem. I think we're hearing about some great ideas and potential solutions to help relieve some of the pressure due to the lack of affordable housing. But community land trusts are also working hard on some solutions and are really working to make home ownership an option for low to median income families who qualify for a loan but just can't compete in the current market. The goal of community land trusts is to make homes affordable and then to preserve that affordability in perpetuity so that we can benefit homeowner after homeowner without the need of additional subsidies. So what is a community land trust? A community land trust is a nonprofit organization, or it can be a government organization that acquires, owns, and stewards property permanently for the common good. By owning the land, the CLT has the ability to meet the community desires and needs. And in the current market, those needs are primarily focused on affordable housing. However, remember that the CLT model can be used for other community needs, such as farming, small ranches, commercial properties. But we're going to focus in this presentation primarily on home ownership. Also, it's really imperative that community members and community land trust homeowners take an active role on community land trust boards, just so that we can ensure a broad base of interests are being met within the community. A community land trust is not to be confused with a conservation land trust. And when people ask me what I do and I say that I work with a community land trust, they first jump to the idea of a conservation land trust. A conservation land trust is a little bit different beast. It generally involves the holding of an easement to preserve access to generally recreational space for the benefit of everyone. So everyone can access recreational property via that easement right. A community land trust, on the other hand, owns title to land and really benefits the one specific owner of the improvements on that land. So it's a much more narrowly structured. So how does a community land trust actually work to make housing affordable? A community land trust owns title to the land under the home, and homeowners purchase just the improvements on that land. Generally, the land is either donated to the community land trust, or the community land trust purchases all of the property and then separates those interests. Then the homeowner signs a ground lease with the community land trust for the exclusive use of the land and the yard surrounding the land. So that continues to keep the home and the land tied together. The price of the home is then reduced because the CLT has taken the value of the land out of the purchase price. And CLTs also work to find additional subsidy to help make the cost of the home even lower. That could be through down payment assistance, grants. We work with Habitat for Humanity, so it may also include sweat equity to bring the price of the house down even more. One quick little note is, for some of you may be interested, the house, even though it's separated from the land, does qualify as real property under Montana law, so that home buyers are able to seek a traditional home loan and grant a mortgage to a lender, just as they would with any conventional home purchase. And then the mortgage would include the ownership interest in the house, plus the long-term lease interest in the underlying ground. And we refer to that entire interest as the leasehold interest for lenders. So as you can see, the key components to make the CLT work are the terms of the ground lease, and then also the community land trust offers long-term stewardship for these properties. So I'm going to briefly touch on the key terms of a ground lease, and then I'll have Austin take over and talk more about the stewardship that community land trusts provide. So some of the key terms of the ground lease that keep it affordable for the long term. When a community land trust homeowner decides to sell their home, the ground lease provides that they may only sell to another income qualified home buyer. Generally, community land trusts consider income qualified buyers somewhere between 80 and 120% of the area median income. There are certain community land trust homes that have different restrictions, but regardless, the homeowner may only sell to an income qualified buyer. This keeps the home serving those people who need it most. The ground lease also restricts the price that the homeowner can sell the home for. Trust Montana restricts the increase in market equity to 1.5% per year on the actual purchase price that the homeowner paid for the home. Other community land trusts have a different formula for the resale price. Some of them base the resale price on or allow market equity to be a percentage of the increase in the market value of the home. So just so you know, there are different formulas in the ground leases that define what the resale price may be. But in all cases, the resale price is going to be limited so that we can keep the home affordable for the next home buyer. Also, it's important to remember that the market equity that any homeowner recognizes is only going to be added to the actual purchase price that they paid for the home, not the original market value of the home. So if someone buys a CLT home and pays $150,000 for the home, but the home might be worth $250,000, their unearned equity or the market equity is going to be added only to their purchase price of $150,000. That way we keep the subsidy that was invested in the home in the first place with the home and are able to pass it on to homeowner after homeowner. Under no circumstances can a homeowner sell a home at market price. If you think about it, if the homeowner gets into a home at a great deal and 7 years later is able to sell the home at market rate, they get a huge windfall profit. The home then ends up being a market rate home and no longer available as an affordable home for low to moderate income home buyers. And all that subsidy is lost. So we're out looking for more subsidy to get the next homeowner into a house. Basically, with the CLT model, a homeowner in return for getting a home at a substantially discounted price just agrees to pay it forward to another qualified home buyer so that they can take advantage of the subsidy and purchase a home at a price that they can afford. In many ways, the CLT home ownership is the same as a traditional home ownership. Both take out a loan and give a mortgage to finance the purchase. They both accumulate equity based on the amount they've paid down on their loan. They both also earn market equity. Granted, the CLT homeowner's equity is limited, but they do earn market equity. Both pay property taxes. They can make alterations and improvements to the house. They can paint the walls or add a deck. They both have stable monthly housing costs, which is key in the current market where the prices of rentals are increasing rapidly. And they both are secure from eviction. They only differ in the fact that the CLT home price is substantially lower than a market rate home, And the CLT homeowner is required to sign the ground lease with the CLT, restricting some of their resale, some of their rights to resell the property. A few other key points for the community, for the ground lease with the community land trust. The home must be used as a primary residence. Homeowners are not allowed to use their home as a rental or a vacation rental. That defeats the entire purpose of the community land trust to provide affordable homes for workforce housing. Also, the community land trust retains a first option to purchase the home. In the event the homeowner defaults on their note, the community land trust can step in and purchase the home at the formula price and keep the CLT home in its portfolio and rent it to or sell it to another qualified buyer. One advantage is that the home may be devised to an heir, so you can leave a home to a child or a relative in your will if you want to keep the home in your family. Finally, and one key aspect of the ground lease is that every single home buyer of a community land trust home must meet with an attorney prior to closing on their transaction. It's imperative that home buyers understand what they're getting into, that they understand that this is a community land trust home and that there are restrictions when they go to resell their home. So that's an absolute requirement. It cannot be waived. And we work to help those home buyers find counsel to meet with them to go over the ground lease. So like I said, the second key element to the community land trust and its success is the long-term stewardship that we offer home buyers. Austin, you're up.
Thanks, Lori. And I just wanted to shout out to everyone who's saying hello in the chat. It's so awesome to see so many, I mean, I would say familiar faces, but familiar names out there. Thank you for joining us. It's great to be presenting to you all. And so, yeah, a long-term stewardship is a really important mechanism of the CLT. It's our long-term commitment to support homeowners who purchase one of our CLT homes. And we're committed to aiding homeowners throughout every step of the homeowning process, from the purchase, the management, and then the future resale of the home. We are committed to this stewardship to balance the needs of the current homeowners and with the needs of the community, to lock in the subsidy and ensure that the homes remain affordable in perpetuity. For many CLT homeowners, this is their first venture into homeownership. According to Grounded Solutions Network, about 7 out of 10 CLT homeowners are first-time homebuyers, which is really exciting. And so because of that, we encourage homeowners to take a first-time homebuyer course. And we function as a quiet support system in the back that can step in the unlikely event of default or foreclosure. And when you're a home buyer, I mean, one of the benefits of owning a CLT home is that you're a homeowner. You're no longer renting from a landlord. So we don't want to take an overtly paternal stance on monitoring the CLT homes. We sit back quietly and collect the ground lease fees. That just ensures that we're there, we're present as the land owning entity in the relationship, but the homeowners, like Lori said, are free to enjoy all the benefits of homeownership in their house. And because of this long-term stewardship, CLT homes are 10 times less likely to be foreclosed than traditional market rate homes. And about 6 out of 10 of CLT homeowners use their equity to buy traditional market rate homes down the line. And so, like this slide says, our stewardship goals are to promote the success of homeowners, protect the affordability of homes, preserve the quality and condition of homes for future generations, and prevent the loss of public investment and homeowner returns. So at this moment, we have a couple questions in the chat. We'd like to just take a quick pause. And if you have questions for us, please feel free to type them in the chat, and we'll take about 5 minutes to answer the questions. And then we'll move on to talking about what the awesome CLTs in Montana are up to. And I'm just looking back here. We have a question from Rachel. She asked, is a CLT used for habitat housing complexes? And the answer is yes. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Our partnerships with Habitat for Humanity have really, they really embraced using the CLT model to hold the land in trust. And then as partner families build their homes on top of the land, they're the owners of their homes. Yeah, the short answer is yes, and we'll definitely get into that further in our presentation. Lori, do you want to add anything to that?
Right, and that was kind of what I was getting at the example of how some people can get into a home at an extremely reduced price, and over a period of 5 to 7 years can sell that home, collect this huge windfall, and then we lose all of the subsidy that's been put into that house. So the CLT model works really well with Habitat for Humanity. So I look forward to more of those kind of partnerships. And then I also see just the last question was whether or not we have a group of legal counsel. And yes, that's also included in our presentation a little bit later. But yes, we do have a group of attorneys who are trained with the Community Land Trust program, specifically with the terms of the ground leases. And we make those attorneys specifically available for prospective homeowners.
Thanks for those questions. So moving right along, we will talk about the CLTs in Montana. Many of them, I think, are watching here, so thank you so much for coming to this presentation. But we have 5 CLTs in Montana. The North Missoula Community Development Corporation is in Missoula and is the oldest CLT in the state. The Northwest Montana CLT is up in Kalispell. The HRDC in Bozeman is a more broad-based organization, but they developing community land trust projects is one great aspect of the important work they're doing down in Bozeman. And then the newest community land trust in the state is the Big Sky Community Housing Trust in Big Sky. And then we, Trust Montana, are the state's statewide community land trust. So starting with the NMCDC, it was founded in 1996 and was really with the goal to revitalize the north side and west side residential downtown areas of Missoula. Those areas are the oldest areas in town that were built in and around the big railroad and hospital employers. And these areas suffered greatly when the railroad crossings closed and industrial employers downsized. Many of the homes in that area became often cheap and substandard rentals, but now as housing prices go up in Missoula, this area is one of the, a home can't stay on the market in this part of town. And the NMCDC and the joint North Side, West Side Neighborhood Plan of 2000 came out of active citizen and community involvement. And they really function as a voice for that neighborhood so that they can lead and guide the future development in that community. You may be familiar with some of the projects that they've worked on. If you've ever gone to the Burn Street Bistro, you were sitting inside of a community land trust development. That Burn Street complex consists of CLT housing, as well as a community center, retail, and the Burn Street Bistro kitchen. The NMCDC's developed the Clark Fork Commons CLT homes, and most recently, the Lee Gordon Place homes. And also they manage the city-owned Moon Randolph homestead. So they have a lot of action going on in Missoula, and they're not just limited to developing CLT projects. Their current focus is on the project West Side Park and a discussion of a new development in their neighborhood, which may include as many as 50 CLT homes on Missoula's north side. And so now I'd like to show a quick testimonial from Rachel. I am gonna bring us over to Vimeo to watch a quick video from Rachel, who bought her CLT home from the NMCDC. So
I was renting, ironically, 3 miles from here, renting a place for $620 a month, a basement apartment. Did not know that home ownership was even possible for me or in the near future, even though I was a real estate lender and I knew what it took to buy a house and how much you needed to make. But once I saw one of the second land trusts, then I immediately said, wait a second, why am I not thinking about this for myself? I purchased my land trust townhome in 2006, August 10th, 2006, and I sold it in December of 2016, so just over 10 years. And the funds that I earned from the sale of my home, I was able to put down on a new home. And then actually I've sold that and now I'm in another new home. The fact that I purchased that land trust has set me up with, it was just like a stepping stone for the next home purchase and my future. One of the biggest things that I learned while going through the process of purchasing my home was that I was just really educated by the staff on the resale formula. That was completely new to me as not only a lender, but also just as a renter, and understanding what that would look like down the road when I decided to sell the home. I will tell you that when I purchased my land trust townhome, it was one of the proudest moments I've ever had. I was 26 years old. I was single, and I never imagined that I would be able to purchase a home by myself, let alone something in the town that I loved of Missoula, Montana. I was the first person in my immediate family to be able to do that on my own. I think it's just really important to, surround yourself around people that can educate you on new things. And if you are someone that is renting and you never thought that homeownership could be part of your life, make sure you are researching things and checking things out and listening to the experts in the field, and just empowering yourself, knowing that you can do this too.
all right, so let's see if I can get out of this. Okay. And back to the presentation. Okay, awesome. So Rachel's amazing. Thanks for her testimonial. And now Lori, to you.
Yeah, it's really exciting to hear testimonies from people who have purchased community land trust homes, because I think of it too as really a stepping stone to owning a traditional home and building more equity. So it just gives these people a chance to get started where they might not otherwise have that. So another more local community land trust is the Northwest Montana Community Land Trust, located in Kalispell, serving really the Flathead Valley. In 2009, the city of Kalispell, in partnership with the Community Action Partnership of Northwest Montana, applied for $4 million from the Neighborhood Stabilization Program funds that Montana was awarded under the Housing and Economic Recovery Act. Well, that's a mouthful. But they received $4 million. And that's when Northwest Montana Community Land Trust was developed in 2010. The funds were used to purchase and redevelop abandoned and foreclosed homes, which were then placed in the community land trust model. And then in 2011, the city of Kalispell received another $1.5 million for the same purpose. So I think that's just an excellent program and a way to use those funds. The homes are scattered throughout Kalispell. They generally do not include new development. So one of the reasons I think this is so great is that the homeowners can avoid any potential stigma associated with living in a low to moderate income neighborhood. And second, there's not the long wait time involved like there is with new construction. As we know right now, the costs of instruction are enormous. Land prices are enormous, and just the wait time to build new affordable housing is just too long. We need help right now. So this kind of model, I think, is just an excellent option. The mission of the Northwest Montana Community Land Trust is primarily to provide permanent, affordable homeownership opportunities to the same low to moderate income families that we've been talking about, specifically in the Flathead Valley. They have 54 community land trust homes, and they've recently been asked to expand their work to surrounding communities, and specifically Columbia Falls, who the city of Columbia Falls just voted last month to commit $120,000 from federal home program funds to the Northwest Montana Community Land Trust for affordable homeownership opportunities. So great work, and kudos to them for expanding their reach into other communities in the Flathead Valley.
The HRDC in Bozeman is a quasi-governmental nonprofit organization working on all aspects of poverty in the Bozeman area. So they're a real broad-based organization that builds and rehabs homes using the CLT model, and they also build and rehab rentals and deed-restricted condominiums as well. Their work includes emergency assistance, transportation, food security, and senior services. And they've identified affordable housing as a most dire need in Bozeman, where, like Lori mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, where the home price is over $700,000. So it's rough to find housing in Bozeman, and the HRDC is doing all that they can to increase the number of homes people can afford in that area. A few exciting projects that the HRDC has completed using the Community Land Trust model include their Willow Springs townhomes, which were completed this year and provide home ownership opportunities for 24 median income households in Bozeman. The homes were all sold to income qualified folks who earn below 120% of area median income. And using the Community Land Trust model, these homes are all going to be 100% owner occupied and affordable in the long term. And then a second project that the HRDC has completed using the CLT model are the 2 tiny homes that they've built on Beale Street in Bozeman, designed for the land and to demonstrate the local need for modest entry-level home ownership opportunities in Bozeman. They serve area households earning 80% of the area median income, and their affordability will be preserved using the ground lease and the CLT model.
So the last of the local community land trusts is the Big Sky Community Housing Trust. And as I mentioned at the outset, Big Sky has a serious lack of affordable housing opportunities for their workforce. And while the resorts are continuing to build housing for their employees, the town is also growing, and small business owners, and like I said, teachers, hospital workers, grocers, retail workers, they need housing too. So the Big Sky Community Housing Trust started in 2020, branching off from HRDC and Bozeman so that they could focus on the specific needs of the Big Sky community. The focus really is entirely on affordable housing. I think they have more than they can handle just in trying to help local workers find housing in the area. The Big Sky Community Housing Trust works really closely with the Resort Tax Board for funding for housing projects, and they also rely on substantial private donations for the work they do. The first big project that they have, I believe, is just completed is a 52-unit condominium development. And like I said, that should be either finished or in its final stage right now, closing on the phase 2 units. This is a picture of a couple of those condominium units. They are deed restricted rather than subject to a ground lease, which is the more traditional community land trust model. But deed restrictions work in a very similar way. They limit who the condominiums can be sold to, and they also limit resale price so that the condominiums remain affordable. The CLT also holds a right of first refusal so that they can purchase back the condominiums and keep them in the portfolio and affordable for the next homeowner. Many people ask what the prices were for those. So they're only included studio apartments and 2-bedroom apartments. The studios were sold for $155,000 and the 2 bedrooms for $320,000, which isn't really a steal, but when you think about Big Sky, it is. And the people who have purchased the 2-bedroom units are allowed to rent out a bedroom to a friend, but they need to use the home as their personal residence as well. So Big Sky's focus is now turned to a collaboration with Lone Mountain Land Company to develop more rental units that are permanently and exclusively for local workers. As a premier management organization for the development of high-end properties like the Spanish Peaks, the New Montage, the Wilson Hotel, and many other properties in the Big Sky area, the Lone Mountain Land Company has a vested interest in making sure that there is affordable housing for the workforce. The rentals would also be deed restricted to prevent short-term rentals, and they would try to keep rental rates under control. While this isn't necessarily the primary focus of community land trusts, it's an exciting opportunity for the Big Sky Community Housing Trust to provide more housing for their community. They also have, they're thinking outside the box, they also have a unique effort where they're seeking to have homeowners convert their vacation homes to long-term rentals. And then on the other side, they're looking for vacation homeowners to give up a couple of weeks at their vacation homes. So those people who have converted their homes to long-term rentals could still spend a couple of weeks of vacation time and enjoy Big Sky. So they are really thinking out of the box and trying to do whatever they can to provide affordable housing in the Big Sky area.
So now we'll talk about what we do at Trust Montana. But before I jump into our background at Trust Montana, I just want to say a few words about the history of CLTs in general, because I think that's really important. The first community land trust grew out of the Southern Civil Rights Movement as a tool for establishing a new form of land tenure for Black farmers and their families. New Communities Incorporated was founded in 1969 as a farm collective of over 5,000 acres of farmland in Lee County, Georgia. And that's credited as being one of the first CLT models in the United States. And today there are over about 225 community land trusts across the nation, serving thousands of families nationwide. And so Trust Montana, we got started in 2011 to fill the need for a statewide CLT. A needs assessment was conducted in 2011 to see if a statewide CLT could be beneficial. And the results showed that rural and frontier communities could greatly benefit from a statewide CLT that could fill the gap in smaller communities where there would be insufficient resources to develop a functioning CLT. And the reason why it's so hard for rural and frontier communities to start their own CLT is that community land trust is a nonprofit. And so that comes with all the bells and whistles that I'm sure many of you are very familiar with of running a nonprofit. You've got to staff the thing, you've got to fund the thing, you've got to make sure it runs, and then you have to be committed to long-term stewardship over the course of many, many years. So it's a pretty heavy lift. And for a community that's struggling to, find housing and just make it all work, a statewide community land trust we found has been really beneficial to come in and provide the legal framework, the technical support to get CLT projects off the ground. And that's really been evidenced in our work in Red Lodge, Belgrade, and Livingston Helena. We've developed great partnerships with other nonprofits like Habitat for Humanity and community foundations like the Red Lodge Area Community Foundation, who all come together to increase the number of homes people can afford in those communities using the CLT model. And we're also actively, so we have a broader mission than just housing, like Lori mentioned. We hope to increase the amount of affordable farmland and ranches in the state. And so we're actively looking for farmland to put into our CLT portfolio, and maybe eventually commercial properties down the line too that can be a benefit to the community. Talking about statewide CLT success, these 4 other CLTs have done great work across the state. There's nearly 300 CLT homes in Montana, with many more in the pipeline, 50 more in the pipeline. They're being resold to income qualified buyers at anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 or more below the market value. And with the crazy jump in prices around the state, these CLT homes should be reselling to even more below market rate. And I just want to reiterate again that CLT success is really because of the partnerships that they've developed across with nonprofits, governments, municipalities, and community foundations. And as more people understand the housing catastrophe that's happening all over the state, I think people and communities are looking towards CLTs as a really innovative and valuable option to explore to increase workforce housing. And so with success, of course, there's challenges. Like I mentioned, running a nonprofit's not a total walk in the park, but I think CLTs in Montana all struggle to find funding, to build and develop building partners, and then to also engage community buy-in. But really, I think all people working in this field are really creative and persistent. And I think once you can find funding sources and you develop relationships with builders and developers, that really gets things moving right along. And community buy-in can be difficult, I think, partly because this model is complex and can be confusing. And I think, but once communities understand it and wrap their heads around it, it really makes a lot of sense. And we've seen just great success when the community comes together to get behind a community land trust project. It's really exciting to see what can happen. Some of the success we've seen specifically at Trust Montana, in Missoula, our Montana Street homes, that's the picture you see here on this slide. Those homes were developed in partnership with Homeward, the Missoula Food Bank, and Garden City Harvest. And there are 6 smaller homes in Missoula that were sold between $90,000 and $120,000. So very affordable, really cute design, in my opinion. I think they're awesome. And so that's in Missoula. And then in Red Lodge was really where Trust Montana was born. Our first ever project happened down there on Cooper Street. And now we have a really exciting project going up in the Spires. And that is, of course, thanks to our partnership with Helena Area Habitat for Humanity. There are 3 partner families that are working right now to put in the sweat equity to build their homes in the Spires development. And then there will be 3 more in the pipeline for next year. So Helena Area Habitat for Humanity, doing incredible work over there. And then in Belgrade, Bozeman, and Livingston, again, that's a Habitat for Humanity partnership with Habitat for Humanity Gallatin Valley. And that partnership is creating many CLT homes in multiple subdivisions in that area. And then another big success is that we've had some success in the legislature, getting the CLTs defined in the Montana Code annotated. So that is always a win. The CLT legislation was there, but we did some refining to get it defined just the way we wanted it in the MCA now. And then over the years, Trust Montana has had great success in applying for and finding subsidy to bring the price of the homes down. And then I mentioned these here, but I just wanted to highlight that these are the current projects that are being built and worked on right now, the Spires and Red Lodge, and then the Habitat homes in Belgrade. And so bring it
Back
over
to
to you, Laura.
me, and I stand corrected. So Laura Staping, the executive director of the Big Cedar Community Housing Trust, does indicate that they do use ground leases as well. I guess I was under the impression that they use the deed restrictions on the condominiums, but presumably they have houses too, and they do also use the ground lease model for community land trusts. So thank you, Laura. I stand corrected. Other projects that Montana or Trust Montana is working on aren't necessarily to build our portfolio or just for housing, but professional education. And through a generous grant from the Montana Justice Foundation, we're able to provide professional education to key stakeholders in the Community Land Trust project, specifically real estate agents, lenders, real estate appraisers, title companies, and attorneys. We've provided well over 250 professionals with education on the Community Land Trust model and how it works. We've met with attorneys on several occasions and have been approved to present continuing legal education to them on the Community Land Trust model. I think we've met with attorneys at least 3 separate times, both in a statewide or continuing education program, a local bar luncheon, as well as a national program put on by the seminar group out of Seattle. So that's exciting. We've also already presented to the Montana Land Title Association last fall and to a smaller group of real estate agents at Inc. last fall. We're working on approval from the Montana Association of Realtors for a presentation to occur in the next couple of months to help real estate agents understand the resale formula and what they need to be aware of when they're either listing a home or representing a buyer of a CLT home. We also, as you can see on the little postcard there, we have been approved by the Board of Real Estate Appraisers for the state of Montana to teach a continuing education course for real estate appraisers. That's a 3-credit course that is happening June 10th, right around the corner at 1 o'clock. And we'll both have an in-person and a Zoom option for that course. It is designed for real estate appraisers, and they have a charge of $50 if they want to collect the continuing education credits for that course. But we also invite other professionals in the real estate market to attend that seminar free of charge as an auditor, as auditing the course. If you're interested, there's more information on the Trust Montana website, or you can just shoot me an email. That would be fine too. So we're working really hard to educate all of the key stakeholders, and hopefully that helps all of the community land trusts throughout the state. If we have people that that understand the process and specifically know how to appraise these properties, which can be a little tricky. We're also working with NeighborWorks Montana right now to streamline and make all of our educational materials more cohesive. We'll have resources that are available online, including PowerPoint presentations with talking points, quick reference guides, many short videos, and they'll be available for everyone to use to teach courses on community land trusts and shared equity housing more generally. Also, the pro bono program, I just mentioned a little bit that we do have attorneys available to meet with prospective home buyers, and we've started a pro bono program at Trust Montana that's available to all of the community land trusts in the state. So currently we only have 9 attorneys that have been trained, and we've walked through the ground leases with them, so they're comfortable with the ground lease. They love working with prospective home buyers. Many of these attorneys are transactional attorneys, so they have a hard time finding opportunities for pro bono services. And so they love this opportunity. It's a win-win for everyone. And they can help prospective home buyers better understand what they're getting into with a community land trust home. Again, like I said, we have 9 attorneys on our list. We have 7 other attorneys, but since they're state attorneys, they need to have clients that meet the low income requirements of Montana Legal Services in order to have malpractice insurance. But it seems that the 9 attorneys that we're using right now is sufficient for the number of houses that are coming up. They spend an hour or 2 with every prospective home buyer. And again, they've been great and they really love the work they do. So it's really cool that we can offer these attorneys up at no cost to homeowners who are trying to purchase a house and getting other little costs for closing thrown at them right and left.
And so just to highlight a few more of our ongoing projects, like we said, one of our goals is to increase affordable farmland in Montana. And so we do this work with Agrarian Trust, which is a nationwide nonprofit whose mission is to support land access for the future generation of farmers. The Agrarian Trust is launching several fundraisers to acquire land, U.S. farmland through the Agrarian Commons, which is an initiative of the trust. Each Agrarian Commons is located, is locally governed and land holding entity that acquires farmland and leases land back to farmers for 99 years. Each lease is designed to be affordable, to provide equity building for the farmer, enforce regenerative agriculture, and as well as good ecological stewardship. So exciting work with the Agrarian Trust. And then the Homebuyer Choice Program is a buyer-initiated CLT program that we are piloting in Missoula County through the HB Choice Program funded through Missoula County and the Montana Department of Commerce. We will be able to bring more market rate homes into our CLT portfolio. The program will offer a grant to drive down the total cost of the home for income qualified buyers who will purchase the homes on the market. And then at closing, Trust Montana will become the owner of the land and the new homeowner will become the owner of the home, just like in the classic CLT model. The homeowner will sign the standard Trust Montana ground lease, giving them their leasehold interest in the land that their home sits on, and this ground lease will commit them to the terms in order to make sure the home remains affordable in perpetuity. So we're searching for patient sellers in Missoula County who we fear might be hard to come by, but I believe that they're out there. But we are searching for folks who are selling their home at a price a Montana family can afford. So if you know anyone selling their home in Missoula County for under $300,000, please send them our way if they want to help mitigate the housing crisis in that area. And then just quickly, statewide advocacy and outreach and technical support statewide. We're always advocating for CLTs as we think it's just a great model to support communities in this housing catastrophe that's happening in Montana. And finally, our goals moving forward, of course, we want to develop new projects. we want to increase advocacy and education statewide by designing and presenting all these professional education programs that Lori mentioned. And then sustainable operating, we'd like to build organizational capacity with revenue stream development, ongoing staff training, and endowment to ensure our long-term stewardship goals can be and promises can be fulfilled. And just in general operations of running a nonprofit, we'd like to build more capacity to buy homekeeper software, develop manuals for stewardship, and board of directors. So that is it for our presentation today. Just thank you so much for everyone for listening to us and joining us this afternoon. We would like to give a special thank you to the Montana Justice Foundation, who has funded Trust Montana's education endeavors, and that includes our opportunity to present to this great conference. So I think we've got like 3 minutes. Maybe we could answer one question if there's any out there.
I also want to say thank you. I noticed that there's a lot of people representing the different local community land trusts in Montana, and we tried to do our best to cover what we could find about each of you, and hope we did a good job. Apologize if we missed any of the details, but we love working with you, and think that what you're doing is great and giving all of us new ideas.
Yeah, so thanks everybody. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us for this session. Remember, you can always participate in community conversations through the Whova app to chat some more. We will now be on a 1-hour lunch break and look forward to having you back in breakout sessions at 1. Great job, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.